Hi everyone, this is Alex, and I'm going to tell my sister Tatum a little bit about everything I've learned in our class so far. So first, in chapter 4 was the first part about teaching diverse learners, and this kind of talked about what we typically think of in diversity, like race and culture, and in talking about all these different types of diversities, you start to realize how important it is for teachers to really be adaptable and be able uh, to work with students from all different kinds of backgrounds. And with race and culture, students have an extra challenge because not only do they have to learn the material like everyone else, but they also have to learn the norms of the school and how things are run in America and how our systems work and what we expect is normal and things like that, which is not always easy. We kind of take that for granted sometimes. Also, it is found that a stronger percent of blacks and Latinos end up graduating high school, and this is probably because of those extra challenges. Usually, students from other races and cultures struggle with social acceptance, and this really calls for culturally responsive teachers and multi-educational or multicultural education, because teachers who can work with different backgrounds, who are willing to find out about what a student believes, what they value, and be willing to talk to their parents and how things are run at home, students or teachers who know that about their students usually are able to teach them better. And this means that with students of different cultures, it's not equal treatment, but equitable treatment, which means that we treat them according to their needs. So when a student who maybe needs less help doesn't get as much attention as someone who needs extra help. Also, there's diversity in socioeconomic status, and typically areas that have a lower socioeconomic status or poorer neighborhoods have less qualified teachers. And this is kind of a problem because it just creates this cycle of lack of education amongst the lower income neighborhoods. They also found that families and parents who have lower education usually produce children who have a lower education. And so we really, as teachers and educators, are trying to break through this cycle and educate parents, teach maybe parents who don't speak English how to read in English so that they can read to their kids and really break this cycle of a low education. Also with diversity comes English language learners, and these are people who are a language, or English is their second language, and their first language is either Spanish or Chinese or whatever else, whatever country they're from. With the ELLs comes No Child Left Behind Act, and this ensures that all English language earners will learn English and that they will still get the same type of academic expectation and accountability as their peers who do speak English. And this, it literally means no child left behind because they don't want to leave behind students who can't speak English educationally. ELLs make up 10% of our schools today, and most of them are Spanish. Then there's also gender stereotypes and gender diversity. Even I find myself kind of giving a bias to either boys or girls depending on the situation. I think it's really easy for teachers to overlook these biases, and it's important to know that no, girls can be good at math too, and boys can be good at English, and there's no stereotypes for subject for each gender. Then in chapter 5, this talks about diversity with disabilities and things like that. And the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, came about and made it so that individuals with disabilities were able to have free and appropriate education. And with this came IEPs, which is Individualized Education Programs, which were where a group of teachers, parents, any other type of resource helpers, school administrators, get together to work on the individual needs for a specific child with disabilities. They would work to figure out goals for them throughout the year, figure out their current ability levels, what kind of needs they'll have, whether they need assistive technology or some sort of accommodation, and it just kept track of the students' needs and how they can progress from there. There's also kind of the debate of full inclusion, which means that students with disabilities who maybe need special education services would be put with mainstream classrooms, general education classrooms, all day long, and just given their special needs in a general education classroom setting. And this is kind of a back and forth debate because we're not sure if that's what's best for the particular student with disabilities, but at the same time, it maybe could reduce them being seen as different because they would be in the same atmosphere as their peers and stuff like that. So one of the best things for teachers who have students with disabilities is that they need to collaborate with other people of authority. So either the student's physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, maybe their teacher's aide, maybe they have a resource worker or an itinerant teacher, whoever you can collaborate with, the more feedback you get from other people working with this child, the better you'll be at teaching this child. Then you have gifted learners, and these are your students who are just get the stuff really quickly, who are ahead of the rest of their class. They may be actually the ones that are quick to misbehave because they think the material is boring, or they get done so fast. And with students like this, you have to really give them an opportunity to learn the material at a deeper level, really encourage creativity, encourage them to be in outside programs. Like I think they have acceleration opportunities. They have mentor programs where they can be in touch with someone in a career maybe they hope to be in eventually, and it's really important to keep these kids engaged despite their really fast ability to learn. Then you have your at-risk students, and these are the students who are maybe at risk for teen pregnancy, substance abuse, or maybe they are engaging in substance abuse, maybe they had child abuse. They could be the students that are being bullied. These students are at risk of dropping out or failing, and really at the heart of all of these issues is that they don't have the kind of social stability at home or socially at school, and really the teacher's job is to love on them and to show them that someone does care about how they do in school, because just knowing that someone cares and wants them to succeed can make a huge difference. But in addition to simply caring for these students, there's also prevention programs where maybe they get educated, like, for example, sex ed courses that talk about the kinds of diseases and the ways to prevent pregnancy and things like that. They also have like self-esteem builder type prevention courses. And then for high school students who may not have the ability or the desire to go to college, there's transitional programs that prepare them for the real world despite their current situation. Then in chapter 6, this is a super important chapter because it talks about communication between teachers, parents, community, stuff like that. And they found that the number one indicator of a child's success in school is their parents' involvement. And this can sometimes be challenging because families are changing now. There's lots of single-parent households. And with that being said, usually the parent has to work a long time. They don't get a lot of time at home with their child. Maybe there's some grandparents who are raising children, or children just aren't in the traditional mom-dad home anymore, or at least it's becoming less and less common. But this is important that the teacher really shows the family, whoever the guardians of the child might be, that getting involved in their child's school is a really big deal. They can make suggestions for what would get their child more engaged. They can provide or offer books that would maybe teach them how to parent in a way that would help them to be successful educationally, things like that. They do family-centered teaching now, which is supposed to help both the guardian and the child, and helping both generations become a team in the educational process is actually more successful. It's also important that the parent and the teacher are in constant communication. And this can happen by a teacher really encouraging them to volunteer at school. This can happen by a teacher sending home letters, doing at-home visits. Those are becoming really big now, where a parent or a teacher goes to visit the child's family at their house because it's more convenient for the family. It can be more comfortable for the family, and it can really make a difference when the teacher shows that she or he cares. Something else that was kind of eye-opening for me is that most of the students in low socioeconomic status schools and maybe schools in rougher neighborhoods, most of those students have not had a lot of interaction with the community. And there was some statistic where a majority of the students at a low socioeconomic status school had not been to a museum before. And the teachers were concerned that their children just hadn't seen much of the world, and they called up a local museum that had kind of expensive admission, and the museum was willing to let the students get in for free, and then they were able to take the students on a field trip. So just having connections and communication with the community is super important and can make a really big difference in the students' lives. So then it talks a little bit about parent conferences, and that teachers need to be prepared for parent conferences, have a set plan of what they want to talk about and what kind of message they want to convey. They need to be willing to accommodate and listen to parents' needs. They have to be willing to fit the parent's schedule. Maybe that means they have to meet at lunch, or maybe they have to meet before school. Whatever works for the parent, the teacher needs to be flexible. They also need to make the parent feel empowered and let them know that they are an active and big part of the child's educational success and educational career. Then there's a little bit about school choice and how students and families who have lower socioeconomic status are the first ones to get a school choice. And this is what was said in No Child Left Behind Act, is that the students who are maybe in a lower neighborhood, a poorer school district, do have the choice with government funds to go to either a private school or charter school or things like that. It talks a little bit about social capital, which is kind of the community involvement thing again, where a student possesses social capital if they have the family and community resources that can service them and help them educationally. And one way to let low socioeconomic status schools get more social capital is to get them involved in the community, to get the family involved, to get people willing to serve their children. And then just finally, advice to parents to help their children succeed academically would be to set routines for them, get them on regular schedules so they know what to expect. Consistency at home is a big deal. Manage their activities, make sure you keep track of what they're doing and how they're spending their time. Maybe lessen TV time and monitor their reading time, things like that. And then, of course, just get involved and get interested. Be sure to attend events and see what your children are doing in their after-school activities. And then, most importantly, talk to teachers. The teacher and the parent are a strong team and can really make a difference in the child's lives. So, thank you. I hope you learned a lot about teaching in America.